Guys, gals, welcome back. How are we? It's been, 6-7 months since I last put out an episode. Honestly, I think I put too much pressure on myself having this little thing up here. I've said this before. I tried to record a couple of times, but just couldn't find a flow, couldn't get into it. But I was talking to Rob from Off the Arrow Shelf last night, gave him a phone call. We were talking for about, an hour and 15, an hour and 20 minutes. And I said, you know what? I've really got to try and record another episode. Hang on, let me just try and moving this around a little bit. I don't know whether I've got the volume up too loud on my headphones or what, but I seem to have a little bit of distortion here. You know what? I want to give it a go anyway, see how it turns out. Hang on, let me just have a look at my channel monitor. I'm just going to say anything. No, that seems fine. I think I've just got the headphones up a little loud, that's all. Right, what's been happening? There's a fair bit been happening since I last recorded. Actually been out and done some shoots. More of that as we get into it. I did 2 NFAS shoots and 3 EFA shoots. And I've got another weekend EFA shoot coming up. This Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be shooting the Dot Southgate, which is EFA's known distance 3D championship, and I'm really looking forward to it. Other things that happened, my God, I came heavily off the health and fitness. I mean, it was like a complete train wreck the way I came off it. Doing sod all exercise, my diet had gone to shit. And one of the things when I started this journey, I was trying to do lifestyle changes, so that would be easy to maintain. But then I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. I went carnivore. Was that going too extreme? Did that cause me to come off? I don't think it did, because I willingly came off carnivore to see what happened when I went back to eating the old ways. And I honestly think that ultra-processed, hyper-palatable foods are so ridiculously addictive. Hang on a minute, I just got to check something. I am. It's all right. I was thinking then, I know I'm recording on camo for the video. I just had a horrible thought that I hadn't hit the record button properly on the Roadcaster, and I was not recording on that. You know what I'm like for being a putz and doing shit like that. Where was I? Yeah, I think it's just... Let me just try moving this a bit. That sounds slightly better. Yeah, ultra-processed foods are so hyper-palatable and so damned addictive. I mean, we know sugar's stupidly addictive. It's more addictive than cocaine. Right, if my eyes seem to be wandering around a bit, I've got to remember that's the camera on... That's the lens I've got to look at, not that one or that one. And I think I am going to be bouncing, my head's going to be bouncing backwards and forwards and looking at that. What else has happened? Yeah, like I say, I'd had a hard fall, particularly in diet. And we all know that when it comes to health and fitness, the biggest thing is your diet. And I was back on ultra-processed, hyper-palatable foods. And they're so calorie dense that you think, oh, this little bit won't hurt. But you think, well, hang on a minute, when you look at the calories in that thing, that's fucking ridiculous. And when I started this whole journey back in lockdown, at my biggest, I reckoned I was about 8.5 stone. One of my friends that knew me years ago, she said, nah, Richard, your biggest, you got to be the wrong side of 20 stone. And it's very possible, looking back at old pictures of myself, that I could have been. The lightest I got to on this journey was 14 stone 9. That's, I think, when I first started in the first lockdown, I was tipping 18.5 stone. Got down as low as, I think it was 14.9, which is 205 pounds for the folks in the States. And I jumped back on the scales before I went back carnivore, and I was back up to £220. And I'm thinking, shit, this really isn't good. I knew I'd been putting on weight simply because my clothes were getting tighter and not fitting properly, and I think I don't know if that's one of the reasons that I didn't record anything, because I didn't want to admit I was failing. But the whole reason I started this was for my audio diary, so an audio diary for myself, so I could see the ups, I could see the downs, I could see what worked, I could see what didn't work, what went wrong. And I think when I realised I was crashing so badly, I got another huge case of imposter syndrome. I'm thinking, well, who's going to want to listen to a bloke that's not getting it right, that's doing wrong, that's not doing what he wants to do? And I thought, well, hang on a minute. I'm not doing this for anybody else. I'm doing this for me. The whole point of the podcast was something for me to do. I wanted an Oreo. Jesus, is that a Freudian slip? I want an Oreo diary. Now, I wanted an audio diary I could listen back to. But then I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute, you hate listening to the sound of your own voice, so how's that going to work? I don't know, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. And then talking to Rob last night, I think he's in a similar position with his podcast, that he's and ahhing over to whether to continue with it or not. And I enjoy Rob's podcast, and I'm thinking, well, I think you should, because you're an expert in your field. You're a really good coach. You're a course layer. You're so knowledgeable on the technical side of trad shooting. You're an expert. People will want to listen to you, and people do want to listen to him. But here's me, I'm just an average middle-aged bloke. No expertise in anything apart from talking utter bollocks, which I seem to be doing all right at that so far, don't I? Anyway, so I thought, sod it, let's sit down. I've got no notes, no nothing. I'm just going to sit there and let it go. I mean, I've had a fair few messages saying, what's happened to the podcast? Have you given up? Are you taking a break? When you coming back? And it was weird, because I was holding fire till I'd shot the EFA bow hunters to do an episode. That's a whole different story. I'll cover that in the next one, the EFA shoots. In this one, I'm just covering what's been going on and the NFAS shoots. So I'm now a month into carnivore again. Not mega strict. I think I've had half a dozen days in a month where I've ended up having carbs, just thinking, one little bit won't hurt, just a little pinch of a slice of cake. And if I'm not having carbs, I'm not particularly craving them. I do get the odd craving, but nothing insane. But then if I have particularly something sweet, or bread's I'm a motherfucker for bread. I really am. I love bread. That's one thing I do miss on carnivore, bread. I thought, right, I'll try a little piece of bread. And before you know it, I was just throwing bread down my face like it was going out of fashion. Same with cake. My other half had got some really nice carrot cake, and I thought, I'll just try a little nibble of this. And again, before I know it, I'd done nearly a full freaking cake, and I felt so shitty afterwards. And oh God, as I was eating it, I don't know how fast your body changes and adapts when you leave carbs alone, when you leave flour, when you leave sugar, when you leave all that shit behind. But I'm eating it and it tastes amazing as I'm eating it, but my stomach's starting to do fucking somersaults as if it's saying like, what the fuck are you putting in us? We don't know how to deal with this shit, you know. And that was, God, 8 or 9 days in, that's all. And I'm thinking, does your body really adapt that fast? And the scales are a bit weird. The scales are up and down, but I know there's things like water weight and all that. But the thing I'm noticing is clothes fitments. And this is something that Anthony from the Off Centre Archer said to me. He said, for God's sake, ignore the scales. They'll go up and down like a fucking horse draws, those things will. Just go by how you feel and go by the fit of your clothes. And this shirt, this was one I've had off the legend that is Johnny Bucket. And can't you tell I'm spending too long around trad shooters when I'm wearing plaid and a fucking flat cap? This is it's a Fjallraven shirt, and when I first had it, it was a little bit tight on me. And I mean, look at it now. I could fit me and half of me inside it now, and I'm seeing myself trimming down. Whether it's just bloating going, I don't know. The other massive thing I noticed was, I've talked about it in other episodes, where I couldn't shoot for 6 weeks in the new year. It turned out it was a bone spur in my neck pressing on a nerve, but right up until, I can't remember if there was a noticeable improvement first time I went into carnivore, but this time, the whole time, ever since I could draw my bows properly again, getting my hand up to there, and there was pain here and down the back of my arm where the brachial muscle is. 2 weeks are into carnivore, and so I'd had this pain there ever since I started shooting again, which was middle to end of February. There'd been this tension through my shoulder and down like I say, I think it's where the brachial muscles are. 2 weeks into carnivore, that's suddenly down 80%, and I'm thinking, how much of that was actually a result of pressure on the nerve, and how much was just inflammation caused by eating the wrong foods? Anyway, I'm going to go deeper into this in another episode. I'll look at what I'm eating, and particularly the cost of doing carnivore. That's going to be for another episode. Like I say, so I'm hoping I'm going to have 2 more episodes. I know the last one was about me doing carnivore, and I hope you're not getting too bored with this shit. And no, I'm not going to become like some fucking the meat equivalent of the good old vegans. You know, where, how do you know someone's a vegan? They'll tell you. In all honesty, like I say, when I started carnivore the first time, I'd looked at the vegan diet. I genuinely had. Well, no, it's not just a diet. It's a lifestyle. Veganism is. It's a whole lifestyle. And for all I may take the piss out of them, I can't help but respect them for their discipline and commitment to their beliefs. You know, it takes a lot to do it. But like I say, I shall go more into this on another episode. I think I'll do the EFA shoots first, and then look at how I'm getting on with this. It's something I intend to continue with, but I'm trying to do it in its, I suppose, simplest form, so I don't have to think. I'll have the same thing for lunch every day. I'll have the same thing for dinner every day. I'm trying to go intermittent fasting as well. Some days it works, some days it doesn't. You know, some day I'm trying to eat only between midday and 8 p.m. Some days I'll have a couple of nibbles of my lunch beforehand. You know, about I'll have a hard boiled egg 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then, but you know, it's something I'm giving a go. In fact, I think from who was it I was talking? Who was it I was listening to? I was listening to somebody on a podcast, and I don't know if it was. Oh God, I can't think of his name now. Andy Frisella, 75 Hard. Was it? Don't say you're going to try. Say you're doing. As soon as you say you're trying something, you're giving yourself that escape route. You're giving yourself that door out. Oh well, I'm only trying. If you say you're doing, you've committed. And maybe I need to look at that a bit more. Excuse me a moment, I've got to reach for my all-time favourite mug, my Liberty mug, just for a bit of water. Bear with me. Just think I should have dropped the slide when I did that. There's probably going to be all kinds of disgusting sounds on the podcast now, aren't there? Right, the other massive news. Your favourite chubby podcaster is going to be a granddad. Yeah, I am so looking forward to this. My youngest daughter, gotta say youngest, she's 25 knocking on 26, is expecting my grandson. I am so hyped about this. I'm going to be a hell of a grandpa. I'm going to be a grandpops. I'm going to be like redneck as fuck with my grandson. We're going to have him into all kinds of mischief. I've got to say a huge thanks to Ollie from Paget. Ollie, Ferris Forging. He's already working on his first bow for him. Trad bow first, but as soon as he's old enough to draw a compound, my grandson's having a compound. Sorry, Trad boys. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. Due just into the new year, so we'll have Christmas out the way, and then fingers crossed, the good Lord willing, it's going to be grandson time. Oh my Lord, I'll look at this when I move. Fucking hell. Shit me. The fucking wrinkles I get on my neck. Christ almighty. I think I need to put a hair grip on the back of my neck to pull the skin tight. Right, anyway, let's get on with it. My God, I've been going quarter of an hour and said absolutely nothing yet apart from I love eating meat and I'm going to be a granddad. Right, NFAS shoots. The one NFAS, Jesus Christ, I'm like that bloke on that Bionic advert, a kebab shop. What the fuck's a kebab shop? It's a kebab, mate. I'm going to jump on their X page, I think, or find Bionic on Facebook and just ask them, what's a kebab shop? You know, is that KEBARB, KEBAAB? It's a goddamn kebab, man. Right, anyway. You've heard me say countless times before, the one NFAS shoot I will bend over backwards. I'll move hell and high water to get to Liberty. And a couple of years previous, I've done like a warm-up shoot to get me ready for Liberty. And this year I decided, with the help of a listener, that I was going to shoot Briar Roses. Now, I'm not going to lie, I was nervous about this course. Rob, Steve and Phil, they are devious course layers, and more into that in a minute, and how I came to do it. Nathan, you can find him on Instagram as, right, now, I'm going to get Rob and Nathan rip me to bits for this, because my Welsh pronunciation isn't the best. Clwyd Archer. Nathan, is that right, Clwyd? Rob, don't go too mad at me if I've butchered that. I do apologise. Nathan and myself, we'd spoken over Instagram and Facebook a few times. You know, he found me via the podcast, and he'd always come across as such a really cool guy that loves his archery. in the course of our conversations over social media, he said he'd like to shoot with me. And I thought, all right then, this is kind of weird. No, not weird. For me, who's, apart from when I've had a drink, naturally an introvert, for somebody you've only ever spoken to over social media, say, you know what, I'll listen to the podcast, I'd like to shoot with you. I'm trying to find the words. I was genuinely surprised, really, really surprised. And Nathan had said he was going to be shooting Briar Rose, so I said, you know what, I'll book in. Shall we shoot together then? And he was well up for it. So I booked into Briar Rose, and like I say, I was nervous about shooting Briar anyway, because their course laying team, yeah, it's not the devil went down to Georgia, it's the devil went down to Briar Rose and he laid their goddamn course. They've got an absolutely gorgeous woodland, but the undergrowth is so varied that they can lose 20 yards in the blink of an eye. They really can with the undergrowth. The course is relatively flat, but like I say, there's such a variety of undergrowth that the differing heights, it can hide so much ground. It can make it a real challenge to judge distance. And I used to be a member at Briar Rose, and the year I marshalled there on the open shoot, the scores weren't particularly high that came in. Now, the year I marshalled, there were it's not like some courses where they just bang out long shot after long shot after long shot. I remember that year, I think the shortest shot was about 5 yards, and that year, the year I marshalled, I think the longest shot was 53, and there were a lot in the mid-range, the 20 to 35 yards. But the course layers are so good at laying technical shots. They have zero need to stretch targets, and they don't stretch targets. That year I marshalled there, when I was a member there was not a single target stretched. Although Carl from Paget will have you believe the other way. I remember that year there was a red squirrel. It was only 16 yards, but the way it was laid, it looked an awful lot farther. If you talk to Carl, he'll tell you that squirrel was 40 yards all day, every day. It was 16 yards, that's all. But they have got such a knack of using the undergrowth, using what topography they've got, and using like big targets on little bosses, little targets on big bosses to make them. Every trick in the book they will use to deceive you, and they'll throw some gimme shots in there for you, massage your ego a bit, but they challenge the archer. Like I say, and this year there was nothing stretched. Everything was achievable if you could just decide what motherfucking distance it was, because they're like Zach Wall, who lays some of the EFA courses at Wood End. They're just masters of you not being. They make it so difficult to judge distances, and fair play to them. If you can shoot one of their courses well, you've done well to shoot one of their courses well. Anyway, let's get back to it. Sunday morning, I head down to Briar Rose, and I'm nervous as hell. Really, really nervous. Gets there, said hellos to everybody. Then one thing Bryros always do is they have a chrono up to check the speed of compounds and crossbows to make sure they're compliant with the NFAS regulations. The arrow speed regulations with NFAS are 300 maximum arrow speed of 300 feet per second with a tolerance of 3% to allow for variations between chronographs. So effectively, at an NFAS shoot, you can read up to 309 feet per second and you're good. EFA 300 dead. I've said this before, there is no allowance for chronograph variation in EFA. 300 dead. If you're over, you either adjust your poundage down or you're DQ'd. Anyway, met Nathan, and Nathan was with his friend Big Willie. What a genuinely nice couple of guys. I recognise Nathan from his Instagram photos. Obviously, he must have recognised me from mine. No comments about having to put a bag over my head. And straight away felt very relaxed around the pair of them. And we had such an enjoyable day. I think it helps that, before I said I've got a seriously dark and twisted sense of humour. There are two reactions to my sense of humour. People either piss themselves laughing or it's what the fuck is wrong with you. That's just my sense of humour, and Nathan and Will have got the same sense of humour. I mean, we had some dark conversations. But we all said, halfway around the course, it didn't feel like we were at an open shoot. There seemed no pressure on. Normally, I know a lot of folks, they do just treat it as out in the woods with friends, having shits and giggles, and that's what I like to try and do. But invariably, I do get the old, this is a competition. People are going to see what you scored like. You know what? People don't give a fuck how I've scored. At least I hope they don't. All they're worried about is going out and having fun with the friends. And it was the first time at Briar Rose, and I think it was a major part of it was down to Nathan and Will, and I can't thank them enough for this. We all said it didn't feel like being at an open shoot. It just felt like the most relaxing wander around some gorgeous woods with your mates, chucking some arrows at targets. And there were a couple of times I'll let a little bit of pressure creep into me, but 99% of the time it was just that. And considering we'd only met for the first time that day, we just got on so well. It was a really enjoyable course. I think because I was so relaxed, I wasn't worrying. There were some tough distances to judge, and I was using the old trick, rocking side to side, trying to use the if I could, trying to use the ground, but obviously with some of the undergrowth there was no way you could do that. And there was another trick I'd seen, another method. I think it was somebody that was at the World, it was on a World Archery 3D video, I think. One of the World Archery 3D Championships, one of their videos on YouTube, where they actually jump up and down to see if you can see any lost ground. I mean, the first target was, it was a confidence booster. We started on a reasonably long bear. For the life of me, I can't remember what the yardage was. The 24 on this thing was quite small for the distance, and I picked a distance, and I thought, this is where I've got to think. Don't second guess when you're at full draw, because when you're at full draw, things can look very different. You've picked your distance. Have a look through the binos where the kill is. Set your sight and just concentrate on breaking a good shot. So I'm up at anchor. I was holding reasonably steady, just a little bit of float from. I was trying just to focus on the animal, look at the point I wanted to hit, and not switch my focus between target and pin. Because I find sometimes I can switch my focus between target and pin, and when I do that, there seems to be a lot more pin float going on. So it's look at where I want to go, let the pin just sit and float, and then just squeeze and pull. Squeeze the trigger as I'm pulling through. Broke a really good shot, and that arrow hit right behind the pin. We get down there, and I 20-foot the first target of the day, which to me, I struggled judging distances much over 40. Because that's pretty much what we've got at Paget, and I've said it before, and it is a reason I need to do more open shoots, but I think I'm tending more towards the mark distance with EFA or the EFA hunter and field rounds. It's not a distance judging competition. That's pure, that they are purely archery, because the distances. But like I say, that's boosted my confidence a bit, and it was such an enjoyable day. I mean, we were fortunate enough that I think it was our second target we got to, Rob was walking the course, seeing how folks were getting on, and he watched the shoot. He took some photos of us, which of course that made me feel really self-conscious. I'm still not liking how I appear on photos or video, which is why I decided I had got a video this tonight. I had said before I was going to go back to just audio podcasts, but then I'm staying in my comfort zone, and I'm not moving myself out of my comfort zone and pushing myself out of my comfort zone, and I really need to do that. It's the only way to improve. You're never going to change, you're never going to grow if all the time you're sat inside your bloody comfort zone. So he was with us for half a dozen targets, and because Rob is such an accomplished coach, I felt that I had to be at my very best. So I really was working hard on a nice, clean execution. Trying to get into that mindset. Don't worry about where the arrow lands. Just execute a clean shot. And that was made so much easier, like I say, by being in the company of Nathan and Will, because, as I said previously, it wasn't like being at an open shoot. It was just like being out with a couple of good mates, having some shits and giggles in the woods and lobbing some arrows at some bits of rubber, and I actually think it could have gone one or two ways having Rob watch me. I could have completely just gone to pieces, but it drove me to break better shots. I've got to say a thanks to Rob for just being in the background there and making me work on my shots. It was a fantastic day there. Oh, the cake they'd got on was amazing. I think I had about 4 or 5 slices of cake. I couldn't decide which one looked nicest, so I said, right, give me a slice of the bloody lot, please. The only complaint I'd got about the day, and from what Rob said, this was echoed by a lot of people, the new NFAS faces. Now, don't get me wrong, they're gorgeous pictures. You know, they're really nice pictures. And it's nice to have on a paper face particularly, the whole animal scores. Obviously, hooves and horns don't, but, you know, some pictures like the JVD, and I think there were some old Merlin ones where legs didn't score. You know, if you smashed an arrow through his femur, it wasn't a wound, you know. Animal wouldn't have been wounded. It was a 0-pointer. The quality of the photographs is amazing. The complaint about them is the kill lines are almost impossible to see. Now, shooting unlimited, I get to use binoculars, and in the grand scheme of things, they're quite cheap binoculars, but they're not cheap binoculars, if you know what I mean. They're the second step up the rung of the Vortex. They're the Vortex Diamondbacks. I've got them in a 10x50, and even through those, on these NFAS faces, a lot of them you can't see kill lines or 24 lines, or you don't see part of a kill line. Now, if the scoring zones on them were anatomically accurate, that wouldn't present a problem. You could just shoot where you'd shoot if it would shoot it where you'd shoot it. It was a real animal. But a lot of these are. That day it seemed as though about 70% of the faces, the new NFAS faces, the kill, an inner kill, are just centre mass on the animal. So if you can't see them, so it'd be as if they were all centre mass or all anatomically accurate. But when some are kind of anatomically accurate, oops, sorry, just twatted the cable there, and some are just centre mass, you can't even say, well, I can't see it, so I'll shoot it centre mass. Of course, if you do, that's going to be one of the ones that's reasonably anatomically accurate. Or if you think, I'll shoot it where I would if it was the real thing, you'll find just your luck that that target is one that they've just dropped its centre mass. It's really easily rectified. So like I say, they're gorgeous pictures, really, really nice pictures. It's just, if the scoring zones were in black instead of very pale grey, like I say, even through my binos, you struggle to see some of them because they're just this really pale grey, especially on light coloured targets. It's as much luck or judgment unless you know all the targets. If I want, I could take out pictures on my phone of all those NFAS targets, so I know where the kill is. But then I wouldn't be allowed to use my binoculars. You know, it is what it is. But if they mark the kill zones in black, they'd be the ultimate, paper or plastic faces. They really would. I say, stunning quality pictures, really nice targets, just knowing where the scoring zones are. And the guy that won Unlimited, I was talking to him when we were having a break as we passed catering, and he was equally frustrated. He said, how are you supposed to hit what you can't see? You don't know where you've got to aim. And this is no gripes about Briar Rose, because they put on an amazing shoot and it was a really, really enjoyable day. But from what Rob said, a lot of people had the same complaint. So I'll say it's a really simple fix. Put dark lines where the score zones are, do them so they're visible, or make them all centre mass or all anatomically correct. Easy. Not difficult. And if they did that, I can't see anybody selling another paper face again or another plastic face apart from the NFAS ones, because it's shooting the leg. That's a wound. They were really, really good about this. It's just those scoring zones that need sorting out. Maybe they could do, a Gen 2, where the scoring zones are more visible. But I had a second arrow at Briar Rose. It was, anybody knows, I think, is it a Reinhardt or a Delta Mackenzie? That laying down Black Panther, where from about halfway up it's starting to rock back. It rolls back. Picked my distance, stuck to my distance, gets up, and the shot seemed to be taking a little bit too long to break, so I kind of pushed harder into the grip. But hang on, let me put my mug down. I pushed here. Can you see that on the camera? I heeled into the bow like that. Heeled in. So as the shot broke, I think it kicked up. The bow kind of kicked up. You go through, it was one Angel said, because I used to tend to go very much there. So I'll be pushing into the throat of the grip and nothing down below. Then one of Angel's podcasts, he said, the centre push there. Well, as I was pushing and squeezing, like I say, it was because the shot seemed to be taking a little too long to break. And maybe in the twat that I am, I'd forgotten to do my breathing. It's only me could forget to breathe, in, out, supposed to come naturally. Why do I have to think about it? I got pushed with the heel of the hand. As the shot broke, the arrow hit high on the target, just skipped off and into the boss, and I'm like, I am so glad Rob's not watching this one, because he'd have pissed himself at me missing one of that target at that distance. I was confident in my number, and that's anything I can think, because I was pushing harder into the bow to try and get the shot to break rather than punch it. I should have just punched it, shouldn't I? Come on. That wouldn't have happened then. Anyway, like I say, I think too much pressure through the heel of my hand caused the bow to kick up, and away he went. Robert had pissed himself laughing at me at that one. He's like, Rich, what the fuck are you doing? How can you miss that at that distance? Guess what? I can, and I did. Anyway, I knew what my number had been that I'd picked for the distance, so goes forward to the white peg and drills pro kill, not a problem. And I knew what my distance was on the white peg, so my distance had been right on shooting from the wasp peg, because they've got wasp pegs on every target. And the thing I like about Briar is they don't just think, oh, it's a wasp peg, let's whap it 30 yards back. Stupid stretch shots are lazy course laying, and Briar Rose aren't lazy course layers. There were I think one where the wasp peg was a lot closer than the red peg. There were others where there were similar distances, just moved to one side or the other a couple of yards. They're very aware they don't want arrows crossing in the target. So you got nothing where you got crossed arrows on the targets. They're just really good at creating windows or hiding a bit of ground, and with them, wasp pegs are for sighted archers. In fact, some of them, the wasp pegs and the red pegs, were right next to each other, but you did know that at every target there was a wasp peg to look for. And I say nothing at all was stretched. Everything was achievable. if you could just bloody distance. There was nothing that was. I don't know. I don't. So we're in what, October now? This was June 30th. I think the longest was somewhere 55, 60 yards, or not a million miles farther than that, and there was only one or two. It was just judging the distance. Like I say, I struggled judging distance over 40 yards anyway. And with the variety of undergrowth they've got there, they can make 20 yards look as though it's 60 yards away. They make 60 yards look as though it's 15 yards away. Such talented course layers there. Anyway, I'm just having a quick look how far in I am. Bloody hell, I've been waffling for 3/4 of an hour already. Shit me, I'm going to be getting tired. What did it? Oh my God. 10:30. I came upstairs to start recording at 5 to 8 and set everything up and just sat here just dropping random lines out, thinking, how do I, what do I do? What do I say? How do I record? And then something Tim Connor on YouTube. I love the guy's stuff. He's really, really good. I've spoken to him a couple of times on Instagram and he seems a genuinely nice guy. He wants other people to do what he does. And, praise be to him for that one. He says just pick up a camera, start recording, do something, make something, get out there and do it. And I thought, you know what, fuck it, yeah. So I hit the record and I started waffling, didn't I? Anyway, like I say, it was a fantastic day at Briar Rose. I didn't think I'd shot particularly well, but I took second in Gents Unlimited. I was over the moon at that. I was a good chunk behind the guy that placed first. The guy that placed first was, I think, 60 points ahead of me. But I could have knocked me off my feet when they said I got second. I'm like, what? How did that happen? Come on, how did that happen? I'm convinced it was down to having Rob watching me on the first few targets, which made me really up my game, and the company of Nathan and his big Willie, two such awesome guys. I can't thank them enough for their company that day. It was, like I say, it wasn't like an open shoot. It was just like three mates, shits and giggles, chucking arrows and bits of rubber. It was a really, really good day. And even better than me taking second, Nathan took second. Oh God, he's going to slap me for this. I think it was Tradbow Hunter, was it? Nathan was shooting. Oh God, that sounds really bad, doesn't it? I can't remember. I think it Hunting Tackle or Tradbow Hunter. I think it's Tradbow Hunter. His first ever medal, and that felt so special to see him win his first medal, especially on a course as challenging as that was. I'm talking to Rob last night. He said Rich scores this year seemed low again. And I said, that's because you lay a tough course. He said, I don't think it was that tough. But when you lay it and you shoot it, you kind of know your course. And Rob's, like I say, Rob, Phil, Steve, Tony, Jackie, all the other folks at Briar that lay their courses, they're masters of their crafts. They know how to lay a challenging course. Like I say, nothing stretched. No stupid long shots. Just they know how to use the topography, how to use different sizes of bosses to make things look different. Like I say, that can make 60 yards away look as though it's 15 yards away. And something that's 20 yards away look like it's 50 yards away. Devilish course laying. Congratulations to them all. Actually, I haven't spoken to Nathan for a while. I feel really bad about it. I've got an invitation to go and shoot at Blythe with him. That's a course I really want to shoot. And so we've had a lot going on with the pregnancy announced and me starting work again. And there just seems to have been a lot going on, so I've got to make such an effort. It was such a generous offer of him to invite me to go to Blythe and shoot, so I've got to make the effort and get over there one weekend and have a shoot. I've heard nothing but amazing things about their course, so I just seem to be lax in with everything in general at the moment. You know, I've just realised I'm 90% of the time I'm not actually looking at that. I'm looking over here, I'm looking over there. This is going to be so bloody distracting for you good folks who take the time to watch. Actually, talking about that, I have a massive, massive thank you to say to you all. Number one, I've gone through 50 subscribers on YouTube now. No, for YouTube, that's a truly paltry amount. But like I say, for a middle-aged bloke with no expertise in anything who just waffles bullshit, I'm over the moon. So thank you to every one of you that have subscribed even. The last podcast, I was averaging, I think, about 15 views per episode. Last one went through 200, and for me, that's massive. And in episode 64, I asked you to, share it out, let people know about it, because I was almost at 10,000 downloads. That went out. I'm almost at 11,000 now. So to everyone that's taken the time to listen to it, to share it, thank you so much. In fact, I knew I should have written this down, but I've got to do this without notes, because the couple of times I sat down in between the last episode and this one, I got notes, and I just couldn't get my flow. I couldn't find my rhythm. So that's why I thought tonight I'm just going to sit down and witter on and see what happens. And touch wood, so far I think I found a bit of a flow tonight. There was a listener who reached out the other day, and I do apologise. I can't remember his name. Oh, I feel so bad about that, because I so appreciate everyone that takes the time to listen. And it was so nice to have somebody reach out and say, just found your podcast, working my way through them, really enjoying it, keep it up. And God, I feel like such a piece of shit now that I can't remember the guy's name. But we had a few messages backwards and forwards, and it was so, it kind of inspires you when there's so much negativity and unpleasantness, particularly at the moment in this world. When a total stranger reaches out and says, I'm enjoying this, thank you. It is nice. It does, gotta sound like a right fucking melt here, but it gives you that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling inside, doesn't it? Now, I tell you what, I've been going now, bloody hell, not long under an hour. I'm still off the cigarettes. I am on cigars, and I'm on this little beast, so excuse me, I'm going to be a complete knob now. And because the drawer on this is quite loud, I'm just going to knock the channel fader down. And it's back up again. So that wouldn't have made good listening, the popping and crackling of that little thing. Let me just have another sip of water. So yeah, like I say, I got to thank everybody at Briar Rose that put in the time and effort to put on that lovely shoot. And to Nathan and Will for their company. Gentlemen, it was a truly memorable day, and thank you for being so welcoming and making me feel so relaxed and comfortable. Nathan, I'm going to get in touch, and we will have to arrange a day for me to come up to Blythe and shoot. It's one of the courses on my bucket list of courses to shoot. Anyway, so right, and after that, obviously, my next shoot was Liberty. This is, I will shout this message from the rooftops, and I do. Liberty is more than just a shoot. Liberty is an experience. It is the Liberty experience. There were 20 odd of us went from Paget again. I travelled down with Ollie. I mean, God, me, Ollie, the bows and all the camping gear for a Thursday to Monday, in my little Pug 107. It must look absolutely comical, but I picked him up at just gone 6 o'clock on the Thursday morning. Had a really good run down there. Stopped off, as is our tradition. We'll get down to Mildenhall, which is, it's probably far. If you when you look back at a journey, you think, oh yeah, it's only 2 minutes down the road. It's probably a mile down the road from Lakenheath. It's a lot farther than that, because it's a couple of miles just down the one side of the base. And then you got the run back to Mildenhall. So we stopped at Mildenhall for Mackey's, and I've got to say, I'm not a great fan of Mackey's. And half the time you wait a ridiculous amount of time for the food, your order's wrong and your food's cold. Never, ever had that happen at Mildenhall. They've just got such a good team in there. We've been in there when it's absolutely rammed, and we've been in there when it's really quiet, and it's never more than 2 or 3 minutes for your food. The order's always correct, and the food is always hot, which a lot of, if you're used to McDonald's, hot food from McDonald's is a rarity, isn't it? Correct order from McDonald's is a rarity. These guys nail it every single time. So we stopped there for brekkie. Was it last year when we went down? Yeah, last year when we went down and got there early on the Thursday morning. The gate was still locked. We had to phone Jamie, get him to phone Randy and come and let us in as it was. Randy gave Jamie the code for the gate, so he gave it us and we could let ourselves in. But we knew we wouldn't have that problem this year, because Brummy, the absolute legend that is Brummy, Mr. Anthony Commander, knew Brummy and Sarah were getting there on the Wednesday night, so it was so good to see him. And as always, whenever Brummy sees you, he's always got this great big smile for you. The guy's happiness is infectious. He's one of the most positive and happiest people that I know, and that positivity and happiness is just infectious. He lifts up everybody around him. Everybody needs a Brummy in their life. The guy's an absolute bloody legend. I'm going to have to try and whiz through this a bit, because I'm dragging on so long. My throat's starting to get a little bit dry as well. Friday was amazing. Obviously, we shoot Saturday and Sunday. Thursday was really chilled. Friday, the planes at Friday, they call either Quick Climb Friday or Fast Up Friday down there, because it's when they do their unrestricted climbs. Once we've had it, the wind's been right for them to take off our direction. I mean, on the Thursday where we camped, they were landing past us, and Jesus, was it busy. I'm normally there finished by 5 o'clock. Thursday, they were still going till well after 8 o'clock coming in. We were getting the F-35s and the F-15s coming in, and I was like, big kid at heart, fast plane. It is like pig in shit. The Friday, the wind direction had changed, so we got Quick Climb Friday right in front of us, and it was insanely good. It was really, really good. And both John, myself and Ollie all said to each other, we all keep videoing every one of these going up. We must have 300 identical bloody videos, but you just can't help it. It was so much fun. Just such a lovely, relaxed atmosphere, and I can't remember really what the weather was like. I think we had a bit of rain, but it wasn't freezing cold like it was in 2023. 2023, the Friday was utterly fucking miserable. Walking around in winter coats in the middle of July, freezing your bollocks off, getting soaking wet. It wasn't pleasant. Saturday and Sunday were good 2023 shooting days, but Friday was miserable. We had some rain this year, but it was warmer, noticeably warmer, and it wasn't blowing gale force winds through the woods, which was such a blessed relief. The shooting was what Liberty is. Really good fun. No stupid distances. It's a fairly flat wood. There were a couple of uphills, a couple of downhills, and in fact on the Sunday they'd moved one of the targets, so you were shooting between two trees, and folks had seen it and they were like, bastards, that's impossible, everybody's going to hit the tree, nobody's going to hit that, that's not fair, that's too hard, blah 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 blah. And who was I with? And I said, why are folks saying that? I said, the trees aren't in line with the target. If you hit one of those trees, you'd have missed the front end of the target by 6 foot, or the back end of the target by 6 foot anyway. And sure enough, most folks hit the target. It was just, the trees created this illusion. It was a stunningly clever piece of course laying that it looked as though the trees were about 2 inches apart. But you're thinking, well, hang on a minute, that's a big ass target. I think it was enormous. You were shooting through it. It was one of the big targets, and I'm thinking, well, that target's about 8 foot long, and I can see, I can see it all. So those trees aren't as close together as they look. It was just this brilliant optical illusion they got with where they'd put the peg. But it had got a lot of folks sweating. I mean, looking at the scorecards, I came in on the Saturday in 3rd place, and traditionally, I didn't know where I'd finished on the Saturday. Obviously, I didn't know where I was sitting, but having looked at the scorecards since, I had come in 3rd place on the Saturday. I was quite pleased with how I'd shot. I really was. I'd broken some really nice shots. Again, I was trying to work on the execution, and I always feel chilled out at Liberty anyway. Well, apart from last year when I had that one that hit the fucking bamboo, and then I let it get inside my head, and I fucked myself out of so many points afterwards by dwelling on that shot. Where was I? Yeah. Traditionally, I've always shot a higher score on the Sunday than the Saturday. Now, when I get to the one about the next episode about the bow hunters, the EFA bow hunters, you'll discover I'm the master of self-sabotage. And I was determined not to self-sabotage myself on the Sunday, so I went out. I mean, like I say, I'll go into a lot more depth, but at the bow hunters, I managed to salvage an abysmal score from a really good score. Anybody else would be the other way around, start off dismally and end up doing well. Me, I started off doing really well and ended up doing utter shite. But that was pure self-sabotage. That was, without me realising I was self-sabotaging, I had. So on the Sunday, I thought, right, I don't want to repeat of that. I'm not going to self-sabotage. I'm just going to shoot this as its own day. I didn't score as well as I did on the Saturday on the Sunday, but I don't think it was self-sabotage. I think there were just a couple of basic yardage judging errors. Two or three, and a couple of bad shots where I should have let down, but I didn't. That's my own fault. It wasn't. I don't think it was self-sabotage. That it was just, like I say, yardage judging errors, and a couple where I tried to rush it through rather than let down. As it was, I finished the overall shooting 4th place, 8 points behind the guy in third, I can't remember who that was. I know Copey, the man that is Copey, Ian Cope. Mr. McTwitch, he won it. I think day 2, he was 4 points off a perfect score. And he said that was his first arrow. He had a twitch on his first arrow. That hit a 20, not a 24. But every target after that, he 24'd it. Right, for those in the States who shoot ASA, our 24 is your 10, basically. But bear in mind, we're shooting unknown distance. And I know there's a lot more archers in the States. For those of you out there who think, well, yeah, our top amateurs are putting in clean every time, you know, they're hitting par, they're not dropping below an average of 10 points per arrow. We have a lot fewer archers here, and our unknowns, you know, anywhere from like 3 yards. I think the longest I've shot at Liberty was 95 yards onto enormous. That was 2017, 2018. It wasn't my first year there. Second year there, 2017, enormous at 95 yards, and you got to judge the distance. You know, so that was no mean feat. It was fantastic shooting by Copey. I think he's only dropped 6 or... He hadn't dropped many points on day 1, but day 2, it was his first target. It was a bit wobbly first shot of the day, you know. Had a bit of a moment and only scored a 20. I should have brought the scorecards in here with me, shouldn't I? So I could see. I know on the results they said I got 32 spots. That was wrong. I was well into the 50s on the spots. Well into the 50s. And when I worked out my average arrow score, I was 23 point odd per arrow, which for me, that is phenomenal. I was really, really pleased with that. Absolutely over the moon. A little bit gutted not to have got into the top 3, but hey ho, it is what it is. You know, judge yardage better. If you need to let down, don't punch that motherfucking trigger. Yeah, but it was the party on Saturday night there had a real giggle with the lot from Paget, with Randy, with Adam and Chris were hilarious that night. I gotta say a huge thank you to them. And like I say, with Copey, Carl, Becca and Sarah and Andy Williams, it was a really, really good night. Speaking of Andy Williams, poor old Andy has had to put archery on hold for a while. He'd got those huge problems with his shoulders, and I'm going to have to see if I can talk him into coming on as a guest just to talk about what he's been through with his shoulders. He had to give up shooting his vertical bow, went to a crossbow. That got a little bit too much, so I don't know if he's got rid of all of his archery gear. He was getting rid of some of it, but until his shoulder's healed, I think he's got a surgery on it. Has he had it, or is he due to have it? I really should pay more attention, shouldn't I? God, that makes me sound so awful. He's staying with shooting sports. He's moved into air rifle, and I believe it's hunter field target, which, knowing Andy, he's going to do really, really well at. But he's going to be missed at the courses. Andy, of course, he's just, again, such a genuinely nice guy. And I was going to message him and say, is he going to turn up at the Dots just to come and say hello? Because it really would be good to see him. But I was talking to Copey and Carl at Liberty. I'd love to get Copey and Carl on here as guests. I didn't know Carl does his own veins. Got to talk to him about those. And I want to talk to Kopi about this year has been his year. Everything he's entered is absolutely slayed. I'm trying to think again. I'm not looking at the bloody camera. My eyes are wandering everywhere. I must look like I'm tripping off my head. Everything Kopi's entered is just absolutely battered it. He's nailed it. This year has been his year. I want to talk to him about not only his practice regime for the physical side of shooting, but the mental regime. I know I've had conversations with him. We've talked about how he's got into it, how his distance judging is so fucking phenomenal. So they've both said they'd be up for an episode. So I'm going to have to sit down with them, talk about Carl Fletching's, Kopi's practice regime, and I'd love to sit down and talk with Andy Williams on here about how the problems with his shoulder started, what he's been through, what he's still got to go through, and how he's coping with not being able to shoot his bow. I mean, when I couldn't draw any more than 12-15 pounds for those 6-7 weeks at the start of the year, I was like a bear with a sore fucking head. I don't be a cantankerous twat at the best of times, but with that, it was like, Jesus Christ, the world's ended. Archery is what I love. It gets me out. It's what got me into wanting to lose weight. It's what I do. It's what I do. And so how he's dealt with that, how he's getting in the air rifle world. So I'm going to have to reach out to him and ask him. In fact, I think I'm going to see Kopi. I'm hoping Kopi will be there this weekend, but I'm off down to a party at his the weekend after. I might have to ask if I can go down earlier in the day, take the recording gear and sit him and Carl down and just see if we can get something recorded. Anyway, how long have I been going? Just over an hour. For you guys I should say folks, shouldn't I? Because I'm going to get accused of being something or other. For you folks that take this in audio only, thank you so much. You know where to find me. Any comments, suggestions, questions, anything like that. Facebook, just look at Archery Geek Outdoors. You can always send me a message on there. X, formerly Twitter, as we're supposed to say, at @A_G_outdoors. Although I haven't been on there in forever. Instagram, archery.geek.outdoors. Same on Threads. I'm on Threads now as well. Facebook, Archery Geek Outdoors. And what's the last one? Email address, archerygeekoutdoors@gmail.com. You're more than welcome to contact me any of those ways. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. Do I suit plaid? Do I suit a flat cap? Hey. Like I say, again, thanks to all those at Briar Rose. Thank you to Nathan. Thank you to Will. Guys, I feel like I've really neglected you since, but what an amazing day. Thank you so much for your time and your company. It was awesome. Amazing to see Nathan get his first medal. It really was. I was so pleased for him. Thank you to all those down at Liberty. Again, what a weekend. Like I say, Liberty isn't just a shoot. Liberty is an experience. Everybody needs a bit of liberty in their life. Right, I'm going to try not to let it go so long next time. Like I say, I need to do one about Aoife and the noble art of self-sabotage, which I didn't realise that I'd mastered quite as skillfully as I had until the bow hunters. Another one, what I'm doing, how I'm getting back on track. I'll look a bit more at what I'm eating, the cost of it. You know, of course, these days finances come into everything, unless, of course, you're a government minister when all you do is go cap in hand to every millionaire and say give, 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 and they willingly do, although apparently not in the hope of any influence. Yeah, so I think that's it, folks. All I can say is, however you consume this, like, share, subscribe, share it out to the world, let them know, because I'm a little bit nervous about doing that myself. I don't like to blow my own trumpet. Although if I could, I suspect there are certain types of films I could be in. Anyway, I'm going to try and uncross my legs without kicking the tripod. I've got to turn around here ready to press these buttons. Yeah, let's see if we can get some more subscribers on YouTube. If you see it on YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, drop a comment below. Every one of those actions helps a little bit in driving it up in the algorithm. And like I say, for someone with no expertise, I'm chuffed to fuck to have broken 50 subscribers. You know, never mind all these that are doing millions and hundreds of thousands. I've broken 50, folks. Thank you so much. Anyway, remember, guys, I've just got to get ready to hit these buttons to stop recording. Stay safe. Shoot straight. Good night.